Hey everyone, it's Lady Night, and yeah, it's been a while since my last video, but I've been sick for a while. I do feel a little bit better now, so I decided to just come on here and do a video, and today I want to do my February and March recap because I haven't done anything in February because halfway through I got sick, and so I just stopped everything that I was doing until then and haven't really picked up anything since then, but I'm slowly starting now. Okay, one of the things that I set out to do as part of my focus year or years was working through this workbook, the Past Lives Workbook, where you have 21 days, 21 different spreads to look into past lives. Okay, where are the spreads? So yeah, a bunch of different spreads in here. And I was, of course, using the Art History Tarot for Past Lives that belongs with this workbook. And I was also using the Stretch Tarot, both of them together. In the very beginning, I tried using this Past Life Oracle as well, but I've only done that once or twice in the very beginning, and then it just didn't really make sense for the other readings anymore because these cards are very limited in what they can tell me. So I've done the first 10 days, and I think 8 of them I actually published on my Instagram, where I talked a little bit about what I was seeing in the cards. It was about the life of a soldier who lived in the 19th century in the vicinity of Turkey, or the Ottoman Empire, whatever that was called back then. And yeah, I didn't write in the workbook. Instead, I got myself an extra notebook and I started writing in here, so I always put down like the spreads that I was doing, what kind of cards I was getting, my thoughts on what was happening in those cards, and yeah. I'm glad I did it this way because I wouldn't have had nearly enough space in the workbook to write all of my thoughts in there. And I used 2 decks because I thought this might be a bit, well, for lack of a better word, limiting as well, because the way that I used it, I was only looking at the keywords and sometimes maybe the time of when the painting was done that's on the cards. And I'm not taking out the cards right now because I'm going to keep this the way it is from when I stopped, and once I'm ready to do it again, I'm going to pick it right up where I left. I didn't use the guidebook that comes with this deck. Instead, I only worked with this so far because every chapter you get keywords for all of the cards, depending on the different topic that you're working on at that time. And so I've only worked with these keywords and the keywords that are on the cards, and piece by piece put the story together. And that actually did make a lot of sense, and I used the Stretch Tarot as clarifiers. So what I did was, and you can see that on my Instagram pictures, I would do the spread first with the Art History Tarot, and then I would do the exact same spread with the Stretch Tarot, and this was like the outside perspective, everything that was going on for me and others to see, and this was my inside perspective into what was behind it. You know, what was I not saying, or what were their cards not saying? So these two together worked so well and will continue to work really well. And this combination has made it so much easier for me to actually dive into the story, and yeah, it gave me a lot to work with, and some of these readings were a little bit emotionally exhausting because I found out things that I was not prepared for, and always kind of reflecting that life in comparison to my life now, and to kind of see, okay, what can I learn from that situation back then? How does that play out in this life? Have I actually learned anything, or am I repeating certain things? And for me, this was specifically, or still is, about family dynamics. Of course, in this case, with a different time and a different culture, there are some other rules, societal rules that come into play, like maybe an arranged relationship, arranged marriage or something, certain expectations that are put on people in a certain time, in a certain area. And so those were things I wasn't quite prepared for. I thought I was, but the things that I found out, yeah, some of them, they did something with me, definitely. And then there was also some kind of a love triangle situation going on, and I'm not going to talk too much about that because I will do an in-depth review of this once I'm completely done, and then I will tell you the whole story, because right now I'm just halfway through, so I can't really say how it ends or what the rest of the spreads are going to reveal. But this is definitely very interesting, and all of the 21 spreads focus on that one life, or at least that's what I'm getting from this. So I'm always looking into the life of this one soldier and different aspects of his life, yeah, family, relationship, personal growth, all of these things. And if anyone is interested in doing that, I can definitely recommend doing it with 2 decks. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Stretch Tarot alongside with it. You can use any other tarot deck of your choice. But this, for me, made the readings so much more enjoyable. Definitely. And I didn't need any other oracle decks besides that. Just these 2 tarot decks. Okay. So, and of course, I have been shopping a little bit. First things first, this lovely guy right here is something that I acquired, or someone that I acquired in February. So this is Gabriel. Yeah, so I got Gabriel from Amazon, and as you can see, he's quite big. He's, I think, like from bottom to the top of his wings, he might be around 14 inches maybe, or 13 and a half, and he has his name on the bottom. Most of the angel statues that you can find on Amazon have the name right here, and I absolutely love that because then right away you know who it is. And it's quite heavy. So this is, I think the inside is resin, and they coated it with like a bronze coating, and that's why it's a bit heavy, but it would be a lot more heavy if this was completely like a bronze statue, which it's not. And they have even put a little bit of color on here. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but his cape has a little bit of red, his wings have a little bit of blue on them, and I just love how he looks. He's gorgeous. And I think I'm also going to get the Metatron statue, even though I've never worked with Metatron. But yeah, through everything that's been happening now for these past months, I've been watching some videos from multiple people that work with Metatron and bringing messages forward, and yeah, I think I would like to establish some kind of relationship with Metatron as well. So far I'm only turning to Gabriel because he is the angel for, you know, communication, people that work in media. He's also the archangel of people that were born on a Monday. So, yeah. Gabriel has, for some reason, intuitively always been my favorite. And so I just had to get him. And they also have other statues of the other archangels. They have Michael, they have Raphael, they have Uriel, Metatron, I already mentioned. They have Zadkiel, Jophiel, I've seen... yeah, so they have a bunch of these statues. They even have them with Norse gods and goddesses. So, yeah. They're not that cheap. This is like the equivalent of maybe 3 tarot decks. 3 good tarot decks. Or 1 independent deck. So, yeah. But I love it. Totally worth it. What else have I been getting? Okay, so something that I've had on my wish list since at the beginning of the year, I wasn't really seeing any tarot decks that were to be published this year that were like, yeah, I really need to have that. So I started going down my book wish list, and there was one book that I had on there for quite a while, ever since I saw it on Julie's channel over at Peekaboo Rose. And I'm talking about this one, the Going Beyond the Little White Book. And shout out to Julie, thank you. This book is really great for a beginner as well as for an advanced reader. I like how they really take their time with every single card. I mean, it's quite a big book, and they give you different aspects like career and relationship related things for each of the cards, and like a mantra for each of the cards, and they really just have a lot of information in here that is really cool, and it's an easy read. It's not difficult to understand. So yeah, this, I'm glad that I have it as part of my tarot library. So thanks again, Julie. Another book that I bought that I also saw on someone else's channel, so this shout out goes to Amy from Strength Reversed, was this one. And I've already also shown that on my Instagram because she showed this book as part of the 31 Days of Tarot, I believe, was it? And she read one card description from here, and immediately I fell in love with the way that this book is written. This is really like sassy and, you know, just straight to the point, no beating around the bush. And I thought this book might actually be a really good guidebook for my Housewives Tarot. And they actually, I've compared some of the cards with the descriptions in here, the images, and these two work together like a dream, because I don't really like the guidebook that came with this deck. I think it's quite, or at least for me, the feeling that I always got from it was a bit negative and like not really uplifting or as funny as I would have liked it to be given the design of this deck. So that's where this comes in, and these two together are such a great team. So I am getting to know this deck again from a completely new perspective thanks to this book. It seems like this might be out of stock, out of print, whatever, because I only saw used copies, at least on the German Amazon. I can't speak for any other countries. But yeah, I could only get a used copy, and the prices were, yeah, they were pretty high up. So yeah, but worth it. What else did I get? So one deck that I have been seeing on many channels for a long time, like all the deck collections and stuff, is the Cosmic Tarot by Norbert Lösche, which is actually a German artist, something that I totally missed for some reason. And I didn't buy this deck right away first. I saw the book because this was for just $8.50 on Amazon. And I thought, great, this way I can spend not as much money I can look through the book and see if I like the descriptions. So it only gives small black and white images, but that's perfectly fine. And I liked the book the way that it was written. I liked what it said about the cards. And so then I decided to purchase the deck as well. And specifically because there was one card in here that reminds me of Corey Haim. And I grew up with his movies as a teenager, and yeah, I did have a crush on him. So let me see if I can find it. Here, the Nine of Wands. That really reminds me of Corey Haim. And I've also been watching the documentary like 1 or 2 weeks ago, the one that was put out by Corey Feldman. And what these two boys went through, oh my god, that's just heart-wrenching. But yeah, as like a memory to Corey Haim, and kind of like reminding myself of that youthful innocence that I had as a teenager. This deck is kind of like, yeah, like a reminder of my teenage years in some way. And that's why I got it. So the artwork, I think everyone has seen this by now. I also like the backs, like they're really cool. So I decided to finally get it. Haven't worked with it yet, haven't done an interview because since I was feeling sick, I also didn't really want to touch the cards or any books, so I haven't been reading, even though I thought, okay, once I'm, you know, in quarantine and stuff, I would get to do all of these things, and I ended up doing nothing. Well, the first week of staying at home was just dealing with some pain and issues and stuff, and then I just sat on my couch and watched a lot of YouTube videos, catching up with some tarot tube. One deck that I have pre-ordered in, I think November, December, that came out in March, well, is the Jane Austen Tarot, and it has 53 cards, so I was like, They never showed any images on Amazon or anywhere on the internet, so yeah, I was guessing that this could be a playing card deck, so yeah, it opens this way. Really nice box. The guidebook is quite thin, but it does have colored images. It doesn't really say much, but it doesn't need to. The messages are quite clear. And so all of these things in here are, of course, related to Jane Austen and her books. So the cards are quite big. Like, as a comparison, this is, oops, the stretch tarot. So they're almost, well, there's a little bit bigger than, like, just half a centimeter bigger than regular tarot cards, and a bit wider. And they have a very cool linen finish. It feels really nice, but they don't shuffle as well because of the texture of these cards. At least that's what it feels like for me, because they're kind of like sticky maybe in a way. But these images are just really cool. And yeah, you have the playing cards associations here. So yeah, this is a playing card deck. And there's even one joker, hence the 53 cards. And yeah, I think it's really cool, aside from the not being able to shuffle it. But then again, I also have small hands, so the whole riffle thing is kind of bleh. But the messages that I'm getting from this deck, and I tested it out when I got it, that was before I got sick, or really sick, are really cool. And I kind of did a very brief deck interview with this, and this deck is one of the, okay, let's talk about the here and now. Let's forget about the future. You gotta focus on some stuff right now. You know, take the first step before the third one. So that's the kind of vibe that I've been getting from this deck, and I like it. So if sometimes I have that too when I want to know something, I'm thinking a bit far ahead, where actually there's something right under my nose that I'm not seeing. So this is the perfect deck for that. And yeah, that's what I got so far. Ooh, I got one more thing. I treated myself to a book that is now very difficult to get. I wonder why. This book was published, or first published in 1981. It's called The Eyes of Darkness. And for all the people who enjoy a good conspiracy theory, this book actually talks about a virus that is called the Wuhan 400 that came from a very certain lab in Wuhan, or just outside of Wuhan. And yeah, it's a very interesting story. It's got a small touch of Resident Evil, not too much, but it's definitely an interesting read. It's very sad because this virus, like, the story has some resemblance to what's going on. It's not an actual account of what's happening now, but it also talks about that it's very dangerous to certain groups of people, and other groups of people are not as easily affected. So that's all I'm going to say. But yeah, it's really interesting that that is now, or well, it's not a surprise, but it's kind of out of stock right now. My one of my next door neighbors, she talked to my man when they were meeting downstairs before they put us on lockdown, and they somehow talked about this book, and she said that she was trying to get it and it was completely sold out, and he said, well, yeah, we have it, and she was like, oh, can I read it? But then I have the English version and she doesn't speak English, so yeah, can't borrow it. Or she can't borrow it from me. But yeah, it's an interesting read for fun. Okay, that was my February and March. I don't know how long this whole lockdown situation will continue. My place of work is on lockdown. It's the last day of work for most of the people there was Friday the 13th, and then a lot of people were told to stay home and that they're not allowed to come to work anymore. I'm working at a theater, so all the artists were sent home, and business in the offices continued, and yeah, now everyone is pretty much on home office, and we're on leave until the 20th of April, but right now we don't know if that's going to be, like, if we will continue with work on the 21st of April, if they're going to extend that. So at this point there's just a huge question mark for all of us. Yeah, we have no idea. So thank you very much for hanging out with me for a while, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!